Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we're talking some fantasy football cheat codes with my friend Mike Lindberg. We're talking Anthony Richardson. We're talking Jayden Daniels. And, of course, we're going to break down some of the trending topics hitting the fantasy football space like Scott Fishbowl, Brandon Ayuk, and a bunch of other things. So it's going to be a great show. Take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. My man Mike, how's it going?
I am doing awesome, man. How are you doing, Jason?
Doing really, really well. Enjoying the Scott Fishbowl. Getting to talk with you on Wake and Take. I'm having a good morning. And it's also a nice Tuesday for me. It's my little sister's birthday. It's actually anniversary for me and my girlfriend as well. Funny enough. So it's just a packed day. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. Got my coffee. We got football. You're here. You know how it is.
That's a special day, and I'm honored to be a part of it then. That's a pretty big day. A household in the Allwine family there is really good.
Yes, sir. But, Mike Lindberg, Wake and Take.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
So I guess before we get into the trending topics, I want to talk about it. I'm assuming you're in the Scott Fishbowl. I'm assuming you've drafted. How's it looking for you?
Well, I'm drafting in a, and they're all savvy leagues. Everybody that's in this fishbowl, there's at least a handful of professional analysts that are in each division, and it's a really fun time. I ended up being in the Ron Burgundy division, so Anchorman was one of my favorite movies growing up in high school, and I just really thought it was an awesome movie. And Ron Burgundy, I had a Ron Burgundy shirt in my early 20s that I walked around with, so I just thought it was pretty fitting, and I ended up getting the 111 slot. And when I picked the slot, my division was only about half full. I last year picked in the earlier part of the draft, and I felt that with the third round reversal, I really liked that the end part. But when in retrospect thinking, I was like, oh my goodness, some of the guys that I really wanted in the earlier part were going, which I thought when I picked my spot, a guy like Anthony Richardson might have been available around the 111, which isn't happening. He's being steamed up quite a bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about him as the show goes on. But I got 111, and I got a really interesting position there because by the time it got to me, none of the top three running backs were on the board. So Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, and CMC all were gone in the first top 7 picks. So that was a surprise to me. So who was fading then? Like, who are they fading? They were fading quarterback. Well, some of the non-mobile ones. So CJ Stroud didn't go until the second round. At 111, Patrick Mahomes had slid to me. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So I was able to get Patrick Mahomes at the 111, and then and I'm in a pretty tough division. Jay Felicio is in my division, Cooker Doodle, Graham Barfield. So there's some big names in my division. So some of these guys slipped past them, but some of these running backs went early. So I had the opportunity to get that beloved Mahomes Kelsey stack on the turn there. So in tight end premium, I just thought that Laporta was there, McBride was still there, but I just said, with the stack in a kind of a best ball kind of format, where not best ball, but in a competition league like this, you kind of have to really do that type of stuff. And as you can see in the background, I'm an avid Chiefs fan, so it was like kind of my homerism coming out there. So I ended up going with that, and then when it came back to me, I ended up getting McBride. So I'm more of a tight end stack heavy right now with Mahomes, McBride, and Kelsey sitting into the next round. The other option for me on the board there with my third pick was Jayden Daniels, who I thought would be an interesting situation. You're going to hear a little bit more from Jayden Daniels as well. But the reason why I opted that because from what I'm hearing, you don't necessarily need to have a flex position at the quarterback when you look at how the positions even out in the middle rounds. So we'll see what comes available. How about you, Jay? How was your draft going? Where was your draft spot?
So well, let me just first say I like your draft a lot. Congratulations on getting Mahomes at the 111. I think people are unfairly fading him and unfairly pegging him as a pocket passer. Because as we know, he scrambles, and he's actually one of the best scrambling, if not the best, like scrambling quarterbacks. Like genuinely, this is a guy who is going to pick up those first downs, not much more with his legs, but we have those first down rushing bonuses. We have the carry bonus. Actually, pull up Player Profiler. He was 8th in quarterback carries last year, 9th in red zone carries, and 7th in rushing yards amongst quarterbacks. That's really, really not bad. And even more spectacularly, he had 0 rushing touchdowns. So we can expect that number to go up this year. I think he can get 1 or 2 at least. So I love that pick. Congratulations on him falling to you. I had the exact opposite happen. So I had the 112, and all quarterbacks were gone. Even Kyler Murray was picked, who was kind of I was kind of hoping to get. So I actually was able to land the Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson double stack. I'm very ecstatic about that, to get both of those, basically RB1s, and maybe even player overall number ones at the end of the first round was spectacular. So I felt very, very great about being able to do that. And I actually, at the 3-1, when it came back to me, was able to lock down my quarterback. I did go with Jayden Daniels. I feel great about that with the carry bonus. I'm very happy right now.
No kidding, man. Congratulations on that start too. I'd be ecstatic with that. Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall was the mock I was going for, like with the 111. It was rare that I would get it because the 112 would always pick one of the two guys. Right. But getting that stack is like those two guys. I mean, both those guys went within the top 7 picks in my league, so it tells you how sought after they are, and to get them at the turn there, and then getting a Jayden Daniels to go along with it, with the upside that he has coming in as a rookie. Great start, man. I'm excited to see how it goes. How is it looking in the tight end situation now that?
I'm hoping. God, I hope no one's listening from my league. I'm hoping like a Kyle Pitts will be back to me at the end of the 4th. Or something like that. Hopefully, maybe a Kincaid, like one of those would be very, very nice. Right now, though, I am not very expectant of that. Trey McBride is still on the board. We're at the 3-4 right now. Mark Andrews actually just went at the 3-3, but Laporta's gone, Kelsey's gone, and now Mandrews is gone. So we'll see. Not very excited to see how it goes, but we'll see who falls back to me. I'm hoping it's a tight end, but we'll make it work no matter what. As Harry Stowman says, loose lips sink ships. But I'm also a content creator. I've got to be honest with me and my audience here, But anyway, so that is the Scott Fish Bowl. Wish you the best of luck on the rest of your draft. Love your start. Congratulations on getting your Chiefs. That's very, very cool. Let's hop into some trending topics, man. And the first one, I hate having to keep bringing this guy up. I'm going to be honest. I planned not to talk about this guy at all with you until an update came out yesterday around Brandon Ayuk again being a knucklehead. I am hating this situation the more and more this goes on, because I think Brandon Ayuk is unfairly bringing Jayden Daniels into his mess. I really don't think he should be doing that at all. Yesterday, he posts on TikTok that he somehow has access to Washington Commanders practice tape and has been watching it. So posted a video of him watching Commanders practice film yesterday on TikTok. Of course, now causing another stir. Like, oh my God, like he has like behind the scenes access to the Commanders. What is going on in this situation? And it continuously develops and develops and develops. We keep hearing more and more things from it. Just simply, I just want to ask you kind of where are you at in this situation, and are you buying or selling?
Well, at first I thought it was just, about a month ago when this started coming up, all of this situation started happening. I thought it was just, two sides that were just trying to play their angles to defend their sides in the contract talks. But it's starting to get a little bit more ugly here. And it's actually making me think that they are going to move in a different direction, the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they've laid the groundwork down in the draft with, drafting Ricky Pearsall and, extending Jawan Jennings. I think that's a pretty big telling situation there where one of their guys was probably going to be leaving, whether it was going to be Deebo Samuels or Brandon Ayuk. Now it's looking more like Brandon Ayuk. And given his past situations with, Shanahan and being in his doghouse after his, rookie season, this could be a little bit of spillover from that, a couple of years removed from it. It's looking more and more like there might be a split up. And Maybe he's just using this Commanders as more leverage to get him out of San Francisco at this stage. I don't know if the Commanders is going to be in the position to be able to take on someone like Brandon Ayuk. Where are some other where you stand on this now? Like I think they're going to probably split at some point. There could even be maybe even a holdout at this stage. Like we may not see Brandon Ayuk to start the season, and that's an alarming for fantasy managers when you think about his season last year, almost 1,400 yards, 7 or 8 touchdowns, I think. So that's those are pretty top heavy numbers here on a team that was a top offense in the league.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to holdout territory. It's certainly possible with him being a rookie. He's not really subject to all these fines or anything. But and I'm sorry to the audience because I've been pretty firm in like, hey guys, like Brandon Ayuk's going to be on the 49ers. They're going to keep the band back together for one more season, and they'll ship Deebo Samuel away next season, which is kind of still where I'm at because that's more the most logical thing. But logic is not always the best course here, and especially when I cannot wrap my head around him having practice film from the Commanders. It's been 24 hours now, and I don't know how he got it, why he has it, and why we keep hearing more connections to the Commanders as time goes on, and why there's no trade happening. It just seems like it's going to happen at this point. Like, I don't know how you would have that practice tape if you're not really connected to the team. Like, they're in the NFC. Like, it's not like this isn't like I know they're in a different division, but they're still in the same conference. Like, they're a competitor, right? So I really can't wrap my head around it. Really, the thing that's bothering me the most, as I said when I started this, is just him bringing Jayden Daniels into this. He's a rookie. Jayden Daniels has his own shit to worry about. He has a quarterback finally starting and chasing his dream of being an NFL player, and you're making him spend his offseason negotiating with you. Like, come on, like, stop distracting him. Let him focus on the football. I don't carry that as your friend. I do find that a bit disrespectful and selfish from Brandon Ayuk, and it really does rub me the wrong way, regardless of how it affects the football field performance. But no matter what, I have been steadfast, and I'm very still steadfast in selling Brandon Ayuk. I do not see a reason to hold on to this player at all. Regardless, he is at his ceiling. He's actually valued higher than where he was last year. On a points per game basis, he's sitting at like the wide receiver 13, 14 right now, and he finishes the wide receiver 16 on a points per game basis, despite an incredibly efficient and productive season. So I just think you should sell him. I think you could down tier him very, very easily and get a ton of value back, and probably very similar, if not even better production, because when you look at these two situations, I think that we can all agree now it's either the 49ers or the Commanders. I think the Steelers are out of the picture here. Either he has to be on the 49ers, which is one of the lowest pass volume offenses with a ton of weapons. And you have to rely on his efficiency, or he's going to go to the Commanders, which is a low pass volume offense with a bunch of good weapons that he's going to have to rely on his efficiency. And so I don't want to do that. I would rather go get as far down as like a Jamison Williams and seeing if I can get like a first or something on top. Like there's so many different scenarios here in the wide receiver market, especially, to where you could trade Brandon Ayuk and get all the value you need back. Is that kind of where you're at, or you might be holding on to it? Okay.
No, I'm not. I mean, if you can get that value, the name recognition is there. You might need to hold on until this situation is sorted out. Like, either way, especially you could capitalize off that buzz if he does get traded to the Commanders. Can you imagine? There's going to be a ton of buzz, like, he's going to be the target hog there. He's going to be all this and that. But like you mentioned, he's going to a lower volume offense. So that would be the time I'd be capitalizing. You could probably get even more for him at that stage. Like probably an equal replacement, and then some, like a second rounder on top of that. Like, if I could trade him for like even Waddle. What a deal. I love that a lot. I think Waddle in that McDaniels offense, 1 year aging on Tyreek Hill, who's going to have a monster season as well. But I think Waddle's on a bounce back. If he can only stay healthy, his yards per route run, all those metrics that you look at for wide receivers are just standing out for Jaylen Waddle. And yeah, I love that trade. Good on you. Who was that? Dakota Vanderhoff. Like, what a good one. I love that. Yeah, but I'm on the same boat with you with Ayuk. Still going to put up good numbers. but he's at his ceiling right now, and if he can capitalize that, go and do it.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and tell the audience now, Jacob Cowing is the wide receiver you want if you're trying to take the arbitrage pick here against Brandon Ayuk leaving the 49ers. Get Jacob Cowing. I know it seems wrong, but he is a better route runner than Ricky Pearsall. We've seen it on his college tape. An incredible, incredible receiver against man coverage. I believe that is exactly what the 49ers are looking for. And I think that Jacob Cowing is going to shock some people. Very impressive at the Senior Bowl, great college stats, and well outperforms his stature. Ricky Pearsall's got good hands, but that's kind of it, and some agility, I guess. But when you're looking at the route runners, I am looking at Jacob Cowing, and he is free right now. So I just want to throw that out there to you guys, the audience. So
he's kind of like the Tank Dell clone, right?
Right, exactly.
He's almost identical if you look at his metrics and how fast he is and his size and everything like that. I think he could find that. Yeah, that's a pretty good lead for the listeners here.
Yeah, ran that 4.38 40, and the best thing about that is he's probably faster, as he did pick up a injury at the Senior Bowl, was able to recover in time for the combine, but I think it stands to reason that he might not have been 100%. But this is a guy, 99th percentile college dominator, 99th percentile college target share, 95th percentile breakout age at UTEP, I think at the time, Arizona, then UTEP, then back to Arizona, but 2,000-yard seasons, a 13 touchdown season last year. This is a very, very talented wide receiver. Just unfortunately only 5'8", 170 pounds, but it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So let's go ahead and move on to, we've got a couple topics that I talked about on yesterday's show. The injury news is bubbling around two star quarterbacks right now. We don't have to talk about the details of it, but I do want to know, are you buying or selling Dak Prescott?
I'm buying Dak Prescott, and I've been buying him all off season. I just think this foot sprain is causing some temporary concern. He's coming off of stellar 2023 campaign. He topped the NFL in passes and narrowly missed out on the NFL MVP honors. I just think that Dak has got such potential. His completion rate last year, 70%, and it was clear that he was, averaging over 300 yards per game. I just think Dak Prescott is on. He's being sought after in leagues now. People are onto him. He finished, I think, as the quarterback 4 or 3 last year. He came on strong in the latter half. I'm buying Dak Prescott, especially at his ADP. If I'm punting quarterback, especially those top guys, I can get Dak in a lot of leagues. And he's going in the fishbowl now. I'm seeing him go in the second round now. So people are coming around to Dak. I'm big fan of Dak Prescott this year.
Yeah, I don't mind him as much in redraft, but I am 100% selling in Dynasty. I just can't do it. I really can't. I will say this. A lot of this is informed on his kind of pre-draft value. He has gone down a little bit. He was sitting at like quarterback 12 heading into the draft, quarterback 11, and he's now dropped a little bit down to quarterback 15. But I mean, it was just a couple months ago you were able to trade Dak Prescott straight up for like a Brock Purdy, and that was a move I was heavily trying to do. Now it's a bit more difficult, but I still love being able to take Dak Prescott and getting like Jared Goff plus. You have another 30-year-old quarterback on a really good offense, but actually has the contract extension. And I also recommended on yesterday's show to get a little crazy with it. I don't mind if you want to go balls to the wall with your Dak Prescott, targeting one of these rookie quarterbacks, a Drake May, a JJ McCarthy, a Bo Nix, and seeing what chair you can get on top. I understand it's risky, but you get that youth and that upside back on top of, probably a really, really nice piece. Just because I'm a little uncertain with this contract. I do not believe he'll be on the Cowboys next year. I think that this is it. Mostly just a Jerry Jones belief. I think that they I think they know what they have in Dak, and it's not a Super Bowl Cowboys team. I think that this is kind of his last ride. He's going to test the open market next year and probably get like a Kirk Cousins level contract, which he'll still be fine. But I want to go away from the risk right now on a 31-year-old quarterback in Dynasty. But he should still have one more great season left, at least for redraft and probably Dynasty as well. But I'm just a risky guy, just a risky little fella.
But I mean, like you say it right now. I mean, if in redraft he's a smash play, I think in Dynasty I'm treading a little bit more cautiously as well because of that contract situation and the uncertainty moving forward. If he was staying with the Cowboys, then I think his Dynasty asset would be a lot more valuable because he's I think he's only 30, like you mentioned, and that's pretty young in quarterback years. He's not a very mobile quarterback that relies on the running, so he still has some longevity there. But without the contract, and you don't know if he's going to be with the Cowboys, you don't know where he's going to be next year. It could be on a lower, providing offense, and I just think that all those variables, and if you can get a younger guy plus some, or an equal type producer like a Jared Goff, who can, he's got a very prolific offense around him with those, with that contract. I'd be all over that as well. So you got to tread carefully.
Yeah, and I won't lie, a lot of this is very much based on my gut feeling that Trey Lance will take over. Everyone that's tuned into Wake and Take now, I feel like, has heard this. I can't explain it, but something makes my tummy feel real good about Trey Lance on the Dallas Cowboys. And Chef says that Dak gets hurt every 2 years. So this would be the year if he keeps the pattern going. So we'll Chef, if this happens, I'm coming to you, knocking on your door for noticing that pattern. But either way, I do think Trey Lance is someone we should be stashing in our Superflex Dynasty leagues, at least a little bit longer. We'll move on to Joe Burrow. There's some updates coming out about his wrist injury being a little bit more serious than some would hope. Are you buying or selling Joe Burrow at his quarterback 6 price tag?
Well, I mean, that is a hefty price tag, especially coming off an injury. I'm not necessarily buying or selling Joe Burrow because he's kind of a firm hold for me right now, especially in a dynasty league where you invested quite a huge draft capital on Joe Burrow, regardless of what it is, unless you're tiering up for a top tier guy or tiering down and plus some. I mean, it's kind of a hold. He's coming off an injury. There was some uncertainty in their wide receiver room, but I think that wide receiver room, knowing that T. Higgins is going to be there for this year, Jamar Chase is going to be prolific, but I really like Jermaine Burton as well in that offense. Taking that Tyler Boyd role, and they run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Mm-hmm. I just think that Joe Burrow's got a lot of weapons around him. They're bringing in Mike Gesicki, a red zone guy that could probably get some touchdowns in the red zone. Their running game, is unproven, but like Zach Moss and Chase Brown, I think could be serviceable. When you think of what Joe Mixon did last year, he wasn't super efficient, but he had a lot of opportunity. So I think Joe Burrow's set up if he can stay healthy. This risk situation concerns me, and that's why he's a very big hold at the moment. I think he can have a really big season if all things go to the plan. I think that division is poised for some high-scoring games, and there could be a lot of points scored. But like you said, I'm not selling him unless I can get that draft capital I invested in him, and I don't think that's going to happen right now with so much uncertainty around him.
Yeah, he is tough. I don't think he has much room to grow. I don't see him getting any higher. So I think he's a sell, but it has to be for a certain subset of quarterbacks. Like, I know he's valued ahead of Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, but I don't know if I want that swap because while Joe Burrow carries this wrist injury risk, he is still at least proven. I think if I'm trading Joe Burrow, I want a proven quarterback plus. And some guys that I would be targeting there would be Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, and maybe Brock Purdy, depending on what that plus is. But I like the ceiling that Love, Herbert, Murray, and Lawrence bring in particular on top of their offenses, that I'm okay making that pivot if you can get a plus. It's got to be a pretty decent plus, as I do think that, especially once the season rolls around and Joe Burrow has his 4-touchdown, 350-yard game and Jamar Chase is popping off, you're going to be able to get a massive haul for him again. But I would be targeting those 4 quarterbacks if I am moving Joe Burrow. If not, I'm with you. I think I'm just holding and seeing what happens, because I do think he'll be playing at a high level, at least this season. My concerns come more down the line with this wrist injury. So that's our trending topics. I think those were some great takes on some great players, as well as a fun discussion on the Scott Fish Bowl. I want to get your takes on a couple more things. So why don't we go ahead and start with your sleeper? Who's your number one sleeper?
Well, I had him pegged a while back, and he's starting to gain some steam right now. And I'm going to go with Jalil McLaughlin. And he's a sleeper for me because he's backed by a lot of strong stats. He's got a growing role with the Denver Broncos. He's being drafted outside of the top 45 running backs right now, and he's made an impact in his rookie season. He showed impressive efficiency. He ranked 6th in missed tackles forced per touch, a sharp contrast to Javonte Williams. He struggled. Peyton praises McLaughlin. He's a versatile playmaker. He emerged as a key contender in the Broncos backfield, and he's supported by those efficiency stats. I'm not saying he's going in here and he's going to be stealing all the work. He's going to be a complimentary guy. He's not going to be coming in and being the workhorse guy. He's always going to be, I see him as like that Jaylen Warren type player where he's going to come in, get those third down role. He's very efficient with his touches. And I think his opportunity to grow in that offense and get more touches is why he's becoming a sleeper for me. I could see him finishing well within the top 30 running backs, and that's going to, outperform his ADP right now. He's got the upside in that, Sean Payton offense where they like to use that joker role quite a bit, and Jalil McLaughlin could fit that role. I know that Blake Watson's coming in, Audric Estime, these guys are going to come in and create some competition within that camp. But I love Audric Estime too, and I think he's got an outside shot of, taking over that first and second down role if Javonte Williams is struggling early on with his efficiency and stuff like that. So could be outside of the realm there, but I like Jalil McLaughlin as a sleeper coming in, potentially getting that top 30 running back position and outperforming his ADP.
Yeah, I mean, that's with an ADP of RB48, getting into that top 30 range would be really, really nice, outproducing that. I'm not going to lie, man, though. I don't know if I have the gonads, if you will, to choose a single Denver Broncos running back right now. I can't. It just seems way too messy. And I don't know if this offense is going to be good enough. But at the very least, if the offense is bad, the pass catching running back will probably still be fine. So I could see Jalil McLaughlin kind of taking that, especially from what we saw last season. He had a few weeks with, at least 5 targets, multiple reception games. And of course, week 4 and 5 was on fire, 100 yards, 90 yards, and touchdowns in both of those games. So he's had the production before. Wouldn't be surprised to see it again. But I think my concern when I'm looking at this Denver Broncos backfield is you're not really going to know when to start this player unless an injury happens. So I think when I'm looking at this backfield, I'm kind of letting it unfold, and then I'll maybe buy one week 2, week 3 when I know the roles, even if it means I have to pay up a little bit more than if I got in at the ground floor. I don't know. But if you're right, whoever, like all these people that are taking the chance on a Denver Broncos running back, if you end up being right, I do think it will be huge for you. Just because, everyone is taking a different one. And whoever has the small percentage of like Jalil McLaughlin, if he ends up being the guy, I think would be really, really good. So that's really not a bad pick. I don't mind it at all. Why don't we talk about your highest exposure player, the guy you've drafted the most? I'm excited to talk about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't play a whole lot of best ball because it just kind of got into my region, and I've got a couple teams. So as far as exposure goes, I'm taking a lot of Anthony Richardson right now in a lot of my leagues, whether it's a startup dynasty, whether it's a redraft league. There's a huge amount of exposure for me where his ADP is sitting, and I like to. I'm going to do risk reward type scenario based on what I saw last year, and I honestly think that, Anthony Richardson has an outside shot of finishing as the quarterback 1 overall in 2024, and he could be the consensus number 1 pick in Dynasty headed into 2025. And it all hinges on some of the statistics that we've saw, a little bit of glimpse about, in his couple starts last year. They're seeing some significant upside. He averaged an impressive 25.7 fantasy points per game in his 2 full starts, outperforming top quarterbacks like Josh Allen. His efficiency was evident, and he led all quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback among those with at least 80 dropbacks. A large part of his fantasy production, it does stem from his rushing upside. He does face scrutiny over his passing accuracy, highlighted by a modest 60% completion rate in 2023. But there's optimism. Shane Steichen has been a quarterback whisperer in the past. We've seen what he did with Jalen Hurts, and now he's got a receiving and talented receiving core behind him. Michael Pittman is promising as normal. We got Josh Downs, who's going to be a great second look for Richardson. And then Adonai Mitchell is a good addition to that lineup, in my opinion. He might not be the target hog. He may not be a prolific fantasy football producer, but he adds an element to that Colts offense, that downfield contested catch burner that can really make that next level threat for Anthony Richardson, making that passing efficiency up there. So if he could be a little bit more efficient with his passing, get up there. I see, Josh Allen having some struggles this year. It might be harder for him to retain that QB1 overall status. There's some red flags to me with Jalen Hurts as well. Knowing that Jason Kelsey's left, bringing in Saquon Barkley, another year removed from Shane Steichen. I'm not a huge Kellen Moore guy, so I saw what he did with Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert when he was, coaching them. So I see some regression from Hurts, and that leaves an opportunity for a guy like, Anthony Richardson to step in and become the quarterback one if he could stay healthy. And that's a big if, but I'm willing to take a gamble on that, especially with his ADP, because if he comes in, as the quarterback one, and I'm drafting him as the quarterback 5 or 6 in a lot of these leagues, that's huge money. And if I can ride that for a couple of years, I will do so. So that's my take on, and that's why I'm highly exposed. And if he does get injured again, this year is going to cost me a lot of money.
I mean, but you kind of have to. You can't like not draft a player just because they might get injured. Any player could get injured. I mean, yes, it's predictable to a certain degree, and Anthony Richardson's play style is going to be conducive to injuries, but we also just have to bet on that upside and that athleticism. I mean, what we saw from him last year was just electric. He was the 4th highest quarterback scorer in week 1, despite only playing 3 quarters. In week 2, he scored 17 points and a half. Week 4, he was the 2nd highest quarterback scorer in only 3 quarters as well, with 30 points. I mean, this guy can really score some fantasy points. And you mentioned all the weapons. I mean, I am actually very much in on Adonai Mitchell. The more and more I think about it, I went on RotoWire with Alan Seslowski last week for a rookies episode, and he talked about Adonai Mitchell, and I admittedly hadn't been too in on him before that show. But then when I kind of developed my take through it and looked at Alec Pierce's usage last year, Alec Pierce was on the field 100% of the time, was top 10 in routes run, had a huge ADOT, but could not catch the damn ball. So I think that Adonai Mitchell coming in, replacing Alec Pierce, someone who can actually catch the ball, Adonai Mitchell, with a lot of the same athleticism, I really do think can unlock this offense. Say what you will about Anthony Richardson's accuracy. He has probably the strongest arm in the league, if not like top 5. Like he could chuck that thing. So I think that this offense really is going to be built around him. I like the fact that Jonathan Taylor's still there. I like the fact that Jelani Woods is getting healthy. I would honestly be shocked if Anthony Richardson doesn't finish as a top 5 quarterback. Health be damned. I think he could miss like 3-4 games and still be like a top 5 quarterback based on what we saw, like, or at least, top 8. Like, I don't think we lose much value, even with missing some time to injury. We just have to hope it's not a season ending one. But you've got to make that bet. And I will go ahead and say, if you're taking Anthony Richardson, I do want you to take Joe Flacco at the end of your draft. Just because we saw what he did in Cleveland. It's a free dart throw, and you kind of have to handcuff Anthony Richardson with what we know about the health concerns. But that shouldn't scare you away from drafting him. Players are injury prone until they're not. So I like that take a lot. Anthony Richardson gearing up for a massive, massive season, as is one more player. Mike, why don't you give us a hot take?
And this is a hot take, folks. So this is not me predicting the future. This is something that I think is in the realm of possibilities. And here it is, folks. Now, I've got a prediction that could potentially happen, and that's Jayden Daniels finishing as a top 5 quarterback in 2024 and winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And there's reasons why behind that. Due to several compelling factors, dual threat proficiency, Daniels showcased exceptional dual threat capabilities last year at LSU. he threw for almost 4,000 yards, rushed for almost 1,300, and 50 total touchdowns. That dual threat profile translates well into fantasy football. That is historic. No one has really ever done that in college, and he's coming into a pretty good offense around him, like we mentioned earlier. In the segment here when we talked about, Brandon Ayuk going there. Yes, they're not going to be super pass heavy, but they've got weapons around them that can really set things up in the RPO. Okay, so that's going to maximize Jayden Daniels' dual threat abilities, right? So RPO is going to be big there, and he's got weapons. Terry McLaurin, I think, is going to have a really nice season here. I love what they have around him. Jahan Dotson, former first-round pick. I'm not sold on him, but I do like Luke McCaffrey with that pedigree. I think, they run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and he could be a guy that can be really, really important down the line as well. But Jayden Daniels, I think, is set up to have all this success that is required to be a top 5 quarterback if you could stay healthy. And we talk about that a lot, and you can't gamble on it. So if you're going to take a chance, you might as well do it on a guy that has the upside. He's kind of like that hybrid between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, the way he runs. And if he can protect himself a little bit better and take the shots and have some designed run plays, wow, this guy could be, people can compare him to that RG3 rookie season, and I think that's not outside the realm of possibilities, and that's why I'm pegging Jayden Daniels as a guy that could finish as a top 5 quarterback in his rookie season. And imagine what that would bring next year if we had a Rich finishing as a quarterback 1 and Jayden Daniels in the top 5. That would really shake up the dynasty market, wouldn't it there, Jason?
It would. And that's why I've been telling everyone listening to sell Caleb Williams for Jayden Daniels plus. What are we doing here, guys? This is fantasy football, not the NFL. And I know that Caleb Williams projects to be a much better NFL quarterback, but, I kind of like what Washington is building a lot more than what's going on in Chicago. I'm not a big fan of Shane Waldron. I hate Matt Eberflus. I do not think he's a good head coach. Keenan Allen can't stay healthy. The offensive line is still not very good. So I think the jury is very much still out on Caleb Williams. I like the fact that you said Jayden Daniels will not only finish as a top 5 quarterback, but take home that offensive rookie of the year. I mean, he just won the Heisman. What are we doing? What are we doing here? He's very much undervalued right now. I don't really get it, to be completely honest, with that Konami code upside. And I really like what Washington's building. Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn was a very successful head coach in Atlanta. We mentioned the receivers, but we didn't even mention Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. That is a very serviceable backfield, a good pass catcher and a good grinder between the tackles. So I really think that this is a solid offense. They, of course, do the early draft capital on Ben Sinnott, on top of bringing in Zach Ertz, who's been pretty solid still when healthy, even if he's old and injury prone. But still, it's all lining up. And then you, of course, also have the Jahan Dotson rumors. I mean, if he ends up going to Washington, then Jayden Daniels is probably going to be unattainable, to be completely honest with you. I think people would go crazy. So I like the take. I like it a lot. And I really don't understand why Caleb Williams, for example, is being valued very highly and Jayden Daniels isn't. And so I like it a lot. I think it's a very good call. And I'm just even more excited about my Scott Fishbowl team, Mike. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And to tailor back to your Scott Fishbowl, not all of us can be drafting Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson in the same draft. So maybe you're not on guys like Jalil McLaughlin later on because you're never going to have to worry about playing a guy like that. I get it, Jason. That's fine. You take your Bijan and Breece Hall stuff and, you could take it to the bank and cash your check. All right.
Hopefully. Well, we're batting 1,000 so far. 2 Scott Fishbowl years, 2 playoffs, hoping to make it 3 straight Scott Fishbowl playoffs. We'll see. We'll see. But let's go ahead and hop into the chat now, see if we have any quick questions to answer. Let's see. Harry Snowman, I guess, has the concern with Jayden Daniels' health, which I do think is fair. He is looking a little undersized right now, but, he's just extremely elusive, and hopefully he doesn't run into contact. We'll see how it goes, though, because I know he did kind of have some injury concerns early in his college career and really didn't break out until last season with his wide receiver help. But, God, that guy has some wheels. That guy has some serious wheels. Let's see. I saw a decent question here. Where was it? Or not a question, but Terminal Sarcasm traded Brandon Ayuk and Brian Robinson essentially for Rome Odunze. And I love that move. I know I just hyped up Brian Robinson, But I think that this is an incredible move. I still do believe that Odunze is the wide receiver 1 in Chicago, and at the very least will be over his career. You get a true alpha profile here, whereas Ayuk is going to have a couple more good seasons. I think Odunze has just an incredible career. So congratulations on that move. Do you like that move?
I do like that move. I'm really high on Rome Odunze. Maybe the path for success isn't all the way there this year. Who knows? Like Keenan Allen, he's aging. You don't know what's going to happen with him. So I could see a path for him becoming that guy right away. And you never know. He could storm the scene, and next thing you know, he is there, and he is the wide receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears. So let's go.
Yeah. Good stuff over here in the chat. I don't see any more questions. Although a lot of people are saying they're seeing Jayden Daniels go over Caleb in their drafts.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I'm for the most part, at least, I mean, in Scott Fishbowl, Jayden's going ahead because of the carry bonus, but like regular underdog scoring and stuff like that, I'm seeing Caleb Williams go like rounds before Jayden Daniels right now. And in Dynasty, I was seeing it too. Caleb Williams 101, Jayden Daniels like 103, even sometimes behind Marvin Harrison. But hopefully I do see it getting a little closer. But I know like if you go to Keep Trade Cut right now, Caleb Williams is quarterback 8, Jayden Daniels is quarterback 12. So that's some room right there. But anyway, that should do it. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you?
Well, I do work for the Player Profiler news desk. I'm a senior analyst for the team there. So you can find all of our work, and we're doing some awesome stuff on the news desk. So follow our work on the website. So anything that news pops up, our team is taking care of, and it's breaking news essentially. Follow our Twitter page, the Profiler_NFL, and then I'm doing a news show with a co-host Jeremiah Retzlaff on the Player Profiler news channel on YouTube, and that's called Player Profiler News Primetime. And we're running it usually every Monday, and we're going to be kicking that show off on primetime Monday, right before NFL Monday night. So you're going to catch us live on the stream there. So, check out all our stuff on Player Profiler News. Bradley Stalder has created a great team there, and we're pumping out content daily. And we're definitely enhancing it with, video content as well on top of the written stuff. So let's go.
Yeah, you guys are killing it over at the Player Profiler News Desk team. Seriously, if you are listening to the show, everyone, I know that we are streaming this to the Player Profiler News channel, so please subscribe over there. Make sure you're checking out playerprofiler.com/news as well, consistently being updated with tons of stuff going on from around the league. Genuinely incredible work going on, not just from Mike, but the rest of the News Desk team. Mike, you keep up the great work as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Audience, we'll have a little bit of an announcement on Friday, but I'll go ahead and tease it. Mike will be hosting a Wake and Take episode next week, so make sure you tune into that. Actually, next Tuesday, Mike will be substituting in for me as I go on a little trip. So very much excited to see what you can cook up for this audience, man. Thanks again for joining me. Have a wonderful Tuesday. To the audience, you also have a wonderful Tuesday, Mike. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your week and have a good one. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.